Welcome. My name's Joseph Arnold. This is the Musicians Tension Reset Lab, a monthly free class for musicians who want to play longer without tension and pain. And this is going to be a hands-on class. So if you want, get your instrument ready. We're going to do some playing together, some experiments together. And if you want to uh, have some one-on-one time with me, I think we'll be able to do that towards the end of the call. Then make sure you have uh, original sound for musicians turned on in your Zoom settings. If you don't know how to do that, well, you can look it up. I think it's under audio settings. So today's theme is about a practice method that I've developed that will help you actually get less tense by the end of your practice session instead of being more tense, which is what a lot of people feel. And so, yeah, that'll be what we do. And so after we do, I'll explain a little bit about what that is. We're going to do a series of experiments together, and then I'll work one-on-one with a couple of you, and we'll have some time for question and answer. And then at the end, we're going to do a little raffle. Every month, I give away a free copy of my book. This bad boy, look at how thick that is, 450 pages. It's called Soulforce: How to Discover Your Artistic Purpose, Create More Freely, and Make Art That Matters. So we'll do a raffle at the end. Okay. Okay, so can everybody hear me all right? We're all set? Okay, good. The real question is, can you hear yourself? That's, that's what I'm always asking. Okay, so tension during playing music. Who here feels some tension when you play music? Yeah, it's really common, right? And it can be really uncomfortable. For some people, like myself, it ended up being an injury, a repetitive strain injury that, really got in the way. I thought I would have to quit violin. I'll maybe share a little bit more about my story in just a second, but sometimes it's not that extreme. It's just some discomfort. You get really tired, or some numbness or tingling, or just the sense that you're kind of fighting your body. And this can be really frustrating. Um, Maybe even be anxiety provoking, like, oh, I can't play as long as I would like. What does this mean for my music and this kind of thing? And the real issue for me is that the tension is not neutral to your performance, right? Of course, it affects your comfort levels, but it also affects your sound quality, your technique, your expression. And one of the things that I teach is that how you practice becomes how you perform. And so every time you practice with tension, well, what are you practicing? You're practicing your tension. You're getting really good at being tense playing whatever that passage is, right? So that's obviously counterproductive, especially when up on stage you want to be free. You want to feel free up on stage, right? And so to me, the underlying problem here is what I call the try harder trap, which is the idea, this sort of subconscious belief that so many of us have that more effort equals more effectiveness. I'm sure you've noticed this many times in your life. When something's not going well, you can't get that stuck lid off. You try harder. Or when you're trying to play that beautiful, delicate line and it's not going well, or you try harder, right? And the lie within the try harder trap is that tension has a deleterious effect on your playing. It gets in the way. It's actually interference. So it feels like you're being more effective, but you're actually getting in the way of yourself, right? It makes your sound thinner, makes your body more comfortable. It makes your technique feel more awkward, and then you feel like you're fighting yourself when you play. So how do I come to know anything about this? I'm a professional violinist and an Alexander Technic teacher many years ago in college. I went for music school. I was practicing many hours a day, and I was going like this when I was playing, and wouldn't you know it, I had repetitive strain injuries in both arms within a year. I could barely play anymore. And my violin teacher, bless his heart, his only advice for me was, you should learn how to relax. It's like, okay. I mean, it was true, but he didn't show me how. And so I went on this long journey, going to all kinds of doctors and massage therapists and chiropractors. I mean, you name it, I tried it. All of it was interesting, sometimes helpful, but I was still in pain a year later after all of this. And then I found Alexander technique, and what it showed me first was that I was going like this when I was playing. Because here's the thing, this tension becomes a habit, and habits, become sort of automatic, unconscious, right? And you don't really realize the full extent of the tension, right? And so this is how it builds over time. Um, and this is how an injury happens, because all that tension, every time you pick up your instrument or do anything else, it builds wear and tear into your system. And so, anyway, so Alexander technique helped. I've been pain free for, God, what year is it? Over 20 years. And yeah, I built a performing career as a violinist, played in the Hot Club of Philadelphia, doing gypsy jazz for 17 years. And anyway, so I now I teach this. This is what I teach. Like how to let go of tension when you're doing something really difficult, like playing music, how to be at ease in that critical moment. And we're going to get into this very deeply today. And so just one more thing, like what's at really at stake here is, yes, your physical comfort when you play is just very important. Like a lot of reason, one reason that some people quit playing is just it just feels too hard. And but there's more to that, more than that. Your technique, when you're playing, it should feel fluid and free, right? And this is what's going to support the music you have inside you. And all this tension, what I find is that it's like the garden hose getting kinked, right? And what we want to do is unkink that garden hose so the music inside you can come out. And this is really the deeper lesson that I teach about. This is what my book is about. It's called Soulforce. It's your soul force coming out. Okay. So what we're gonna do is yeah, talk about well, sorry. We're gonna do a couple of effortlessness techniques. So one of the things that I teach is that ease is not random. Ease does not belong to the lucky few who are just like relaxed people. That's not a thing. Ease is a skill. If you had seen me 20 years ago when I was still in pain, you would have thought, wow, that's a really tense guy. Good luck. That was so rigid all the time. And if I can learn to be really fluid and free when I'm playing, then you can too. And all it takes is learning some effortlessness skills. And so today I'm going to be sharing three of those with you, some of my most effective ones. There's a lot behind each of these. And so we're just going to do like a very brief overview. And then I'm going to show you this framework, my Easeful Practicing Framework. Still haven't come up with a good name, but maybe that's a good one. But it's a sort of an empirical practice approach that will help you gradually, every time you do a repetition of something, get easier and easier and easier so you feel more relaxed at the end of your practice sessions instead of tense. Okay. Just gather my thoughts here. Is there anything else I want to say? Okay. So what is practicing really for? A lot of us have this subconscious idea that practicing is about getting it right. And this is what we do when we practice. We repeat something a bunch of times and we make a mistake, and then maybe make the same mistake a few more times, and then maybe stop making that mistake and you just try harder to stop that mistake. Right? And then you finally get it right, and then whoo, okay, now I'm going to move on. But let's think about what you practiced if you go through that sequence. What you've just practiced is your mistake several times and getting more tense. Let that sink in. So my invitation is to stop doing that. Stop practicing your mistakes. Stop practicing your tension. All right. How do we actually do that? Well, you need some effortlessness techniques, and a framework, but also a new North Star. So the for me, the purpose of practicing is not merely to get the notes right, because that's not merely the purpose of music. If the purpose of music was to simply get the notes right, then we would all be quite satisfied listening to robots playing. And I'm sorry to say that I've heard many musicians, including some of my students and myself at times, um, try really hard to get the notes right. And I've heard even world-class musicians playing in this kind of way, and I walk away, even if they're like way more virtuosic than I am, I walk away kind of bored. You know, just to merely hear somebody get the notes right is really boring. And this is like a big part of what beginner's sound is. It's this focus on da 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 da. Thinking about getting the notes right creates that kind of sound. And so, of course, this is not what music is for. Music is for bringing us to life, inspiration, healing, connection. And if you want that to come out in your performances, then that needs to be a part of your practice sessions. And the simplest way into that is ease. Because the good news is that your soul force, that expressive quality, that freedom is inside you. It's waiting to be unlocked. But we first have to redefine what success in practicing looks like. Because I teach this material a lot, and I come up against this all the time. So where it's not just that you get the notes right, although I do want you to get the notes right, because otherwise it's not going to sound like the song, right? But it's also doing it with ease, getting the notes right plus ease. So we're widening the definition. And we could even widen the definition further, getting the notes right with ease and heart and soul. And this is what, if this is a like, successful practice session, if you can get the notes right with ease and with heart and soul, that's everything you want, right? So usually the simplest way into that is just to practice with ease. All right. So now enough preamble. We're going to get into some experiments here. So one of my most uh, practical, useful, and effective effortless effortlessness techniques is called the magic pause. This is my formulation of the sort of center of the Alexander technique. And basically, it rests on an understanding of habits. And habits are automatic, learned, repeated, and your attention, the tension in your body, is a habit. It's not something like physically, structurally wrong with your body unless it is. But for for most people, the tension that comes up from playing is simply a habit. You've gotten used to playing in a certain way that involves doing all of this, and then that just becomes part of what you do. Now, habits are very useful in some ways. You know, if you didn't remember how to like tie your shoes, that's a habit. If you had to relearn that every time, you'd never get out the door. But sometimes habits encode damage, like holding too much tension. And the thing is, habits are kind of hard to break. Why? Because they're largely unconscious. You don't really feel it anymore. You're not really aware of like the critical moment when it starts. And so our leverage point from going like from the stimulus, which is the thing that you're trying to do or the thing you're reacting to your, from like point A, which is like stimulus. Oh, I'm going to play the violin now. I'm going to get tense. To stimulus. Oh, I'm going to get free. Right? We have a leverage point here right after the stimulus because that we still need to face that stimulus. You're still going to pick up your instrument. You're still going to, try to play that tricky passage, right? And the thing is, like, how do you find that new pathway of movement? It's by pausing right after the stimulus. Rather, this is one way of doing that, but you need to change your relationship to the stimulus so you're not immediately diving into your old habit. So stimulus, that's the old way, but stimulus pause. Oh, wait a second, almost went down the old pathway. Oh yeah, I have other choices. So this is what we're going to try right now, the pause. All right, so we're going to do this. Um, I think just with our hands. Okay. So if you have something in your hands, you can put it down for a second. We're going to do a three-part arm movement all together. So here we go. 1, And your hands just up in front of you. 2 above your head. 3 down in your lap. Okay, it's nothing special, right? 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so now we're going to do it again, but this time I want you to notice your body and ask yourself, are you getting tighter or freer during any of those moments? Tighter or freer? I'm just going to kind of notice your body, not just your arms and hands, but your whole body. Okay, sort of generally, are you getting tighter or freer? Here we go. 1, are you getting tighter or freer? 2, are you getting tighter or freer? 3, are you getting tighter or freer? So what is anybody noticing? Just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Definitely raising the arms is the most tense, and then
All right, when you
lowering
raise,
them at the end is the least.
okay, great. So when you raised your hands, that was the most tense. When you put them down, that was the least tense.
Yes.
That makes sense. What did anybody else notice?
Honestly, I don't find it so much in my hands, I find it in my elbows.
Okay.
But by comparison, it's also out of habit, as you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
When I sit in performance position
Mm.
and the muscles engage that balance that,
Yep.
um, it's one of the reasons why with my students, I have them stand so that they're in the habit of standing and breathing, and we actually march around
Mm.
while they practice on the initial warm-ups, and that frees them up because they're not in a locked position.
Mm.
But the breathing I haven't answered yet. But for
Yeah.
me personally, it's when my elbows are up
Yeah.
because that pulls my muscles in.
Okay. All right. So whatever you noticed, anybody, welcome to your habit. This is the habitual way that you're using your arms. Okay. And my hypothesis here is that it's actually possible to move your arms in any of these ways with zero experience of effort. All right. And so we're going to take a small step towards that today. What we're going to do is I'm going to say 1, 2, and 3. That's the stimulus. And what you're going to do, instead of moving right away, you're going to pause, like literally stop. And don't try to relax because that's a different stimulus. That's a different thought. We're just literally not going to react yet. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like. 1, pause. And then we go, kind of like that, like a pause for a couple of seconds. So let's do it all together here. So 1, pause, and then we go. Okay, pausing before 2, and then we go. Pausing before 3, and we go. Okay, so what does anybody notice that time? Yep.
The
I noticed,
breathing.
Okay, we should do a hands raising thing. Okay, Jamie,
I just noticed I was taking effort in putting my hands down, and that I felt on my shoulders.
say that again.
I noticed I was using effort to pull my
Okay.
hand down,
Oh,
and I felt that.
okay. And did the pause change your quality of movement, tense versus free at all?
Yeah, well, it made me notice that I was pulling down.
Okay. All right, so a little more awareness. Great. So anybody else, raise your hand. Kim, and then
yeah,
Jane.
I noticed during the pause, I could physically feel the muscles just kind of melting a little
Mm,
bit before
right.
I made the movement. That was an interesting experience.
Excellent. Good. Good noticing. Jane.
I noticed the breath. So in the pause, I was inhaling,
Mm,
and then with the movement, I was doing an exhale.
okay. Was that a conscious choice?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, if that happened, that's great. I would not suggest trying to time your movements with your breathing. That's just another form of interference. And your breathing will happen just fine by itself when you stop interfering. Um, okay. Anybody else notice anything with that? Ren, and then Harriet, and then we'll try it again.
It took away the anticipatory tension initially. So for me, I would feel the tension in the throat more than
Yeah.
anything else. But it took away that initial reaction and
Yes.
then getting into the almost like a counting before you raise your hands again. So
Yes. Amazing. Have you taken one of my classes before?
no, no, I've
Okay.
never done this before. So
Okay. Well, I asked because you used a phrase that I use every time I teach this, which is waiting for any anticipatory tension to subside.
I'm taking lessons with a violinist who is trying to get me to breathe properly.
Mm,
So,
okay.
and
Oh,
that's
okay.
kind of where it comes from, is trying to relax the system,
Mm,
but
that's good.
noticing where my tension is. So,
Okay. Good stuff.
thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you, Ren. And then Harriet, and then I guess maybe Harriet doesn't have her hand up, unless you do.
Um, yeah, just I noticed a very slight difference. Not
Sorry,
not
can you
that
speak up?
much.
Can you speak up?
Noticed a very slight difference, but not that much.
Okay, okay, that's fine. All right, so let's just try it again. We'll try it a couple times in a row. I'll use some different phrases with it. Here we go. So we'll do the same thing. So pausing before one, then we go. Pausing before two, and then we go. Pausing before three, then we go. Okay, so just notice what you noticed that time, and then I'm gonna use a different phrase. So you can think of tension as anticipatory in a sense. When that stimulus comes, like your body is like within milliseconds getting ready, already moving. And I'm sure you've noticed this at times in your life when you're about to do something, you haven't even started and you're already getting tense. This is anticipatory tension. And sometimes it can feel like a little like jerk or a little jump that wants to get started. So, and the good news here is that if you wait for that anticipatory tension to subside, it will by itself. So you don't have to try to relax. In fact, that's a contradiction. That you can try really hard to relax and just make yourself more tense and miserable doing that. I used to do that. And but really all it is just waiting for that anticipatory tension to subside. Takes like a second or two. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to use that phrase. Same movement. So one, pause, waiting for any anticipatory tension to subside. And only once it does, that's when you go. Two, pause, waiting for any anticipatory tension to subside. Once it does, you can go. Three, pause, waiting for any anticipatory tension to subside. And once it does, then you go. All right, what does anybody notice that time? Sally. You're muted, Sally. Sally, you're muted. You're muted. Can't hear you.
Am
There
I
we go.
am I there? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for helping me. I feel a nice stretch in my back when I'm way up here. And then coming down, it's more relaxed.
Okay, great. And did you notice that anticipatory tension coming in at all?
Hmm.
Yeah, what was that like?
Well, I have arthritis in my back,
Hmm,
so it's kind of always with me. But so the stretches are great.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sally. All right, Rachel.
I would say it shifts it from being something I'm exploring out of curiosity to being with a purpose.
Hmm.
So my mind and body already know my goal is to relax into the motion that's coming
Mm-hmm.
or relax into that thing. It's a different form of anticipation, if that makes sense.
Okay, sure. And what kind of quality does that other form of anticipation have? More tight or more free?
For me, I would say it's a lot more free
Excellent.
because it's mentally giving myself permission to do so.
Okay, great. Good. Thank you. All right, Jamie.
That was a lot better for me. It gave me
Okay.
a chance to say, hey, just drop it and be good.
Okay, great. And were you more tight or more free?
It was better, more free, yes.
Okay, great. Ren?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but I actually felt like I had a little more control over it because you're waiting for it to subside
Hmm.
and then make your movement from there. So,
Yes. Yeah. Well, control is an interesting one. One of the biggest reasons why people get tense, especially with playing music, is control.
yeah.
Control where that bow goes or where your fingers go or whatever. And you got to be careful because if your control looks like this, then that actually makes you more out of control.
Right, but control to feel it subside and then
Yes.
just get into the music
Yeah.
itself.
Yes,
Put your
exactly.
focus back onto the music rather than on
Exactly.
that tension and trying to get the right notes.
Exactly. It's a different kind of control, more of an allowing and a sensitivity that can arise. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Tyson.
Yeah, definitely felt the relationship in the first two movements, the first subsidings of
Hmm.
anticipation. There was a big difference there, but one of
Okay.
the reflections I had is coming from above back down,
Hmm.
there wasn't a big change. And part of it is I think maybe there wasn't a lot of tension for me in the first place with anticipating the resting back in the lap, if that makes sense. So most of the tension
Okay.
for me I was experiencing in the first two gestures,
Yep.
and the
Makes perfect
return
sense.
back to the lap, maybe not.
That's makes perfect sense. Great. Thank you, Tyson. And Kim.
I have shoulder pain when I put my hands above my head more. It bothers me
Okay.
more. It's one reason I'm here. And the second thing, I'm having a hard time with sort of baseline tension. Like if you have
Okay.
a baseline tension, it's hard to maybe recognize that it's there. Like if
Yes.
there's tension of like 0 to 10, and
Yes.
if you're at a 5, if you don't know what a 0 feels like, you don't really realize it's tension. And so I've had some
Yes.
success in relieving my tension, but not even realizing that I was tense. And so now I'm wondering, well, even when I feel like I'm not tense, maybe I am tense. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
This is exactly what I'm talking about with the nature of habits. Maybe you're aware of some, but there's some ongoing underlying thing that's happening. And the thing is, it happens, tension happens, I mean, for a lot of reasons, but to apply the pause, you need to find out when it's happening. Tension is a when problem, not a where problem. People get really focused on, oh, my shoulders hurt or my hand hurts or whatever. And, of course, it makes sense to look there first just to see if there's actually anything wrong there, but oftentimes there's not. And it just so happens to be the place where your body hurts. But really, it's when you do this thing on the instrument, or when you pick up your instrument, or when you are about to do X or Y or Z, that's when you're getting tense. And if you can do the pause at those critical moments or just before them, then you won't get tense in the first place.
I definitely notice a decrease in the tension when I pause, but then I wonder if I
Excellent.
keep pausing, will I become even less tense? Then how long should I pause for?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, uh, just for wait as long as it takes for any anticipatory tension to subside a little bit. It could be, 3 to 5 seconds. And that's enough. All right. And so then you do that 1,000 times or undo that 1,000 times, and your overall level of tension decreases. Great. Thank you. Okay. Alva and then Stephanie, and then we're going to bring this to our instruments. So all you waiting can get your instruments ready.
So I find it's very subtle.
Okay.
And I'm glad what you said was about that we're not actually, because I am experiencing I have a little bit of issue in this shoulder. So it's,
Mm,
I've been anticipating it, before the class
mm,
started.
okay.
So the, the moment is a very subtle moment
Mm,
where there is not
You'll be back.
the tension. Very subtle. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
okay. Yeah, we'll keep noticing and it'll become more noticeable. All right, Stephanie.
Hi. I noticed it, that whole anticipatory emotion, almost like sand being like the levels of it moving around like almost like a sand or like a snail, like just slowly kind of I'm noticing it there, it's moving and I have to
Mm,
wait till it clears.
yes.
And I didn't that wasn't in my awareness before, so now I see that there and I kind of like have to let it go and
Yes.
let it clears, then I can go.
That's right. Exactly. And you don't have to do anything to let it go. Letting go is a tricky thing. A
You
lot
just
of
wait.
people, a lot of people try to let go. Right. Exactly. You just wait. The thing is, when that stimulus happens and the anticipatory tension comes up before you're even consciously aware of it, before you're consciously aware of it, it's already starting. You can't change that. All you can change is how you react when that anticipatory tension arises. And what I'm saying here with that pause is that it'll arise, and if you don't feed it, if you don't immediately go into your activity, then it just goes away by itself.
So is that's sort of, I don't know, this is gonna sound a little weird. I've done some research into entity attachments, but I'm just wondering if that's sort of like something trying to feed off of your energy or trying to place a funnel there to take some of your energy away. And I'm just trying to like get rid of all that. Just nobody gets my energy, but unless I voluntarily give it. But
Yeah, I couldn't say, but if it helps you to think about it that way, you can go for it.
yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay, so now with your instruments, what we're going to do is pause before you put up your instrument, and then pause before you play a couple notes. So you're going to choose something where you get tense. Okay, so a short passage, maybe just a couple seconds long, little phrase, and once you're all ready, then I'll guide you through this. And if you don't have your instrument, that's fine. You can do something else. Okay, so before you get ready, so rest position. And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna say these two phrases. I'll say it like this: pausing before you get your instrument up, or I'll say get your instrument up, pause, and then we'll pause, and then you put it up, and then okay, play your first few notes, pause, and then you play your first few notes. We'll just do that a couple times. So starting from rest position, here we go. So getting your instrument ready, pause. And then you put it up, or whatever. And then play your first few notes, pause. And then you play. All right, good. So let's try that again with that anticipatory tension framing. So rest position. Okay. And then, okay, so getting your instrument up, waiting for any anticipatory tension to subside. Oops, wait, hold on. Get your instrument back down. Didn't actually pause. So waiting for any anticipatory tension to subside before you get your instrument up. It's a bit of a mouthful, these instructions. Okay, so once you actually notice that subside, then you get your instrument up. All right, so then you're about to play a few notes, that same phrase, and then waiting for any anticipatory tension to subside. And only once it does, that's when you begin playing. Okay, great. So, what does anybody notice? Raise your hand.
Just seemed like a really long time to wait.
Okay. Yeah, and well, long in comparison to what?
um, to what I would normally do.
Oh, yes.
I don't know how this really works with the piano because
Yes.
you don't lift your instrument up. Like, so you
At least not yet.
I mean, when I play, I sit down and then
Yeah,
then
sure.
what would you do? Like
Well, maybe
what I
put your
just
hands
did
on
just
keys.
now is I pressed the sustain pedal because I
Yeah,
know to have
sure.
it on
Yep.
before it started. But then lift my hands and then wait.
Yep.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seemed like a very long time.
Okay. And what happened in your body? Tighter or freer?
Oh, it was definitely more relaxed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, your habit might be to rush into playing.
Oh, it
And
definitely is.
yes, and that rushing is like one of the core drivers of tension, right?
Yeah.
And you get to choose what you do. I mean, life has trade-offs. If you want to keep rushing into playing and being tense, great. I'm not going to stop you. But if you want to stop being tense, you got to stop rushing.
Yeah.
And eventually, as you practice this, the pauses can get shorter because you're not as reactive inside yourself.
Yeah, I think for me, my biggest tension problem on the piano is my seating. Like my legs get really tense.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not grounded or something.
Mm.
And that's like the first thing you have to do when you play the piano is you sit down. And I probably don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
When I start playing and I get nervous, my right leg's really like kind of splays out.
Yes.
It's like I'm trying to force something with my leg.
Yes.
You know, and
yeah,
it's very uncomfortable. Ever since I noticed it, I was doing this.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I'd like to stop.
Yes. And so my suggestion will be to begin by standing near your piano and then noticing your body at every stage of getting ready. When is the exact moment that you start getting tight?
Yeah.
If you can identify that, then you just do the pause right before it. All right. It could be right before your butt hits the chair.
Yeah.
Could be when you look at your piano, when you look at your sheet music or whatever it is. Okay. So identify those critical moments and do the pause just before them. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. All right. Jeanette and then Karen, and then I'll show you how to practice my framework for practicing this.
So, a pianist and a cellist have a similar, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Have a similar issue. Unless you have a mic block strap and can stand up, which I'm considering getting, we have to somehow get at home on our butts and get our legs to feel that they're supporting us. And I mean, I had a teacher who said you should be able to stand up at any moment so your legs are not, you know, in a weird position.
Yes.
And then I've been experimenting with having a chair that actually makes my hips higher than my knees.
Yeah.
And that really helps. I mean, in cellists, you know, we're taught to put our instrument right, just go a little bit to the left of your head. There are other ways to do this. So I've been experimenting with the help of my teacher to go to the left a little bit, and it also makes your bow work better. So there's that, and the grounding oneself, and I like how the pause is. This is a lot about my mindfulness in Buddhist practice. It's like you don't react, pause and breathe, and then think of what would actually be beneficial in this situation. So I felt much more relaxed when I paused and breathed.
Great. Great. Yeah, thank you. And getting your setup set up correctly, whether it's your chair or your shoulder rest or whatever it is very important. But it's not the whole story. Because one thing that Frederick Matthias Alexander, the originator of the Alexander technique, said, you should educate yourself, not your furniture. Because it's possible to be tense even with the perfect setup. Or it's possible to fit your setup around your tension and then remain tense. And you know, if you do that, then when you're relaxed, your setup isn't going to fit you. Right? So there's lots to say about this. This is just another part of the story. Okay, Karen?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. What I found is the 3 seconds was amazing, and then if I wait longer, I can feel the tension starting to come back.
Interesting.
So it's almost like I need to pause and then pause again.
Yes. Well, it might be a thought coming in.
And it's the hurrying to the thing too, like you said, rushing habit.
Yeah. So sometimes tension itself. Hearing an echo, so I'm just going to mute you. So sometimes tension itself or discomfort can be a stimulus for yet more tension. Sometimes it's a new thought coming in that can be a stimulus for new tension. So it's not just the gross motor movements; it's even that level of stimuluses to watch out for. And when you have that feeling of wanting to rush, pause with that. Okay. So now I'm going to share with you how to actually implement this into your playing, into your practicing. So I like to run experiments. I like a sort of an experimental approach to all of this. And so this is what we're going to do now. So what I'm going to have you do is first play through something that you know gets you really tense. Again, a short passage. And then you're going to rate your tension levels just for yourself on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being loosey-goosey, 10 being you're a brick. Okay? And then what we're going to do is identify some of the critical moments. Could be before you get your instrument up. Could be right before that fast run, or right before that shift, or the vibrato, or whatever it is. And then you're going to do that pause, going through it, and then rate your tension level again. And if you keep doing that, you keep finding your critical moments, you keep doing pauses in a few different ways, maybe some creative ways, maybe longer pauses, shorter pauses, or more pauses or less, whatever it is, then with each iteration, your tension level will go from like an 8 to a 6 to a 4 to a 3. And then success in this practicing, just like I was talking about earlier, isn't merely that you get the notes right at the end of it, but it's that you feel much more free. So when your tension level gets down to like a 2, that's success. That's when you move on. And it really is possible. So we're going to do this all together. So all right, I'm going to ask you to play that passage that makes you tense, and then just to notice notice your body and rate your tension level. Okay, so go ahead, just 30 seconds, maybe not even that, 15 seconds. All right, great. That's good. Okay, so why don't you put your tension level into the chat on a scale of 0 to 10. Let's take a look at this. Got a 6 from Jamie, 5 from Verlene, 6 from Stephanie, 7, a 6, 5 from Alva. All right, a 4. Hell, you're already pretty relaxed. Okay, 7 with Hazel. Okay, good. So now I want you to think back to what you just did and see if you can identify at least one critical moment. When is the moment you got the most tight? Harriet says you couldn't focus enough to give it a number. Maybe we'll get back to that. So when was the moment you got the most tight? So you're going to think about that. Was it when you're just getting your instrument ready? When you're putting your bow on the string, or when you're about to take that breath, or to play those fast notes, to do that jump, or whatever it is, you'll know what it is. And then what we're going to do is play up until that point, and then pause, wait for any anticipatory tension to subside, nice long pause, 3 to 5 seconds at least. And then you continue, okay? And then we're going to rate your tension again. So here we go. So once you play your passage, and you're going to pause before your biggest critical moment, and I'll let you decide what that is for yourself. Okay, great. So rate your tension level this time. Did it change? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Verlene got a 2. Nice. Kim got a 4. Jamie down to 4.5. That's great. A 4. 4 to 5. Karen. Jeanette got a 5. Okay, good. So trending in the right direction. So why don't you identify another critical moment? Again, just think back the whole process of getting ready to play and playing that passage. When's the moment that you're getting the most tight? Maybe there's a couple of them. So do nice long pauses before all of those. So let's try it again. So go ahead and play. doing nice long pauses before all of your critical moments. All right, good. So why don't you put your attention level in the chat one more time? What do you notice? A 3, got a 7. Oh, Stephanie's still at a 7. Maybe we can talk, Stephanie. Yes, Rachel, yes, I think it will get easier as you continue. Berlin got a 4, 3.5, a 3. Good. We're trending in the right direction. Okay. So this is basically the process. And if you keep going, you keep identifying all those critical moments, then it'll get easier. And if it's not getting easier, there could be a number of different things happening. You might want to look earlier in the process, like when you're just getting your instrument up. A lot of people forget that. They just are so used to whipping it up and playing, or whatever it is, that you just lose awareness of what's happening, but you're still getting tight. So you can think earlier in the process. And if you aren't noticing your body at all, that's also a thing that can happen when you're over focusing on the notes. So you can even like look at the notes, or you look away from the notes, and then pause before you look at the sheet music. Right? So it can be stuff like that. All right. So let's have some feedback. So anybody have any questions? Anybody didn't notice any difference at all? Anybody totally lost? Go ahead and use the raise your hand feature, and I'll answer your question. Or any amazing, world-shattering insights. I'll take it all. Christine.
Yeah, the benefit for me is pointing out the awareness because I think I've had that tension, but I wasn't aware, I wasn't focusing on the fact that I had the tension until you're pointing it out.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow that was an aha moment for me.
Yeah, great.
To realize, oh, that's that. I get a fear thought like, oh, here, am I going to play that note in tune? That high note's coming. Am I going to play that in tune? And then, but I wasn't aware until the class.
Yes, exactly. Excellent. That's exactly it. And once you start doing this work, you start realizing the reasons why you're getting tight in the first place, which is that anxiety, right? Oh, am I going to get it right? Am I going to mess up, make myself look like a fool? All this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Great. Good noticing. Okay. Stephanie.
I think I'm echoing her. I didn't realize that I'm insecure about my intonation up there.
Yeah.
And that made me more anxious. I got it better than I normally do, but still it's the process of getting there and being aware of what, like taking a look at this and giving it the time and space to go, okay, we're examining this, what's really going on here. And let's just let whatever it is come to the surface and let's deal with it. So it's therapy for how you play.
Oh. Yep, you could think of it that way. Very practical. It's learning the skill of ease. That's what we're doing here. All right, thank you, Stephanie. Jane?
Yeah, I just popped in the chat. I'm very busy thinking. I don't play off music normally, so I'm not distracted by the sheet music.
Okay.
But I'm finding it hard to not just think about the notes.
Yes.
So I'm not so much getting onto the even recognizing the tense point at them yet.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you've maybe identified your critical moment is when you start thinking about the notes.
Yeah.
All right. So what you can do in your practicing is something like just holding your instrument and saying, okay, I'm going to start playing, pause. And then you just notice how your mind goes to the notes. And you just pause while like watching that thought. And then maybe you can do something else, like look around the room, or just like be in touch with the sensory experience of your instrument, what you're trying to do is like break that association with, oh, it's time to play, and hyper focus on the notes. And the way you do that is, oh, it's time to play, pause. Oh, wait, I have other choices. Okay.
Yeah, a bit like we did a few minutes ago. I did get that. It was a better feeling
Yes.
of when you're getting the instrument into position, having the pause. Ordinarily, my habit would be, okay, I really need to get comfy,
Yes.
and there's a lot of tension in the just, oh God, I want it to feel comfortable.
Yes.
But the pause was quite nice.
Good. Good. Glad to hear that. Great. All right, Stephanie, and then Jamie, and then Harriet. Oh no, so you still have your hand up, Stephanie. So I guess Jamie.
I just want to say that my takeaway is, since I have so many things to think about, maybe instead of making the slide perfect, it's okay just to practice the slide instead of bam, that's what it should be, because that's what happens when I play. It's like push down and then the notes after that I can't relax.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, set and forget does not work. Because you set all that tension in place. Good noticing. All right, Harriet.
Um, for me with the piano, it's always this memory thing because this is like sort of required. A lot of places you have to play from memory. So
Sorry, can you
that's
speak? Can you speak up, Harriet?
yes.
Can you speak up?
Yeah, I keep worrying about memory. That's kind of what gets me really tense, mentally tense.
Okay,
It's not so
sure.
much physical. It's just
Yeah.
before I even start, it's like, am I going to have a memory slip?
Yes. Yes.
Am I even on the right notes?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's kind of where, like,
Yep.
and then the playing does sort of suffers, obviously.
Yes. Right. And so you can get into a vicious cycle, right? Because once that thought comes up, it's a normal thought. But if you get hooked on that thought, you start feeding that thought, then it makes it more and more likely that you're going to have a memory lapse because fear and memory don't work well together.
Yeah.
So what you can do with the pause, same thing. I mean, there are tons of ways of working with what you're talking about, but with the pause specifically, is once that thought comes up, you pause. You simply don't react to it. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of other ways of working with that, but this is one way.
Yeah, it's just like really hard, like when you're backstage and you have to go out and play,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's like, oh my God,
Yes.
how am I going to do this?
Yeah. Well, you could practice this at home as well.
Yeah.
Right? You say to yourself, "Oh no, I'm going to forget the notes." Pause. Right? And then that by itself will start to disentangle that whole loop that you find yourself in now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
You can practice your neuroses.
Yeah.
Fun, right? All right, Rachel. Oh, and then Belinda. Okay. And then yeah, maybe I'll work one-on-one with one of you. Right. So go ahead, Rachel.
So at this point, I actually just wanted to pose a question.
Okay.
My primary instrument is a clarinet,
Okay.
and I also work with a lot of kids as
Okay.
a substitute teacher and also as a private teacher.
Okay.
And the problem for some is figuring out how to breathe through all of that,
Okay.
because especially when we start, say, like my challenge piece right now is a piece from Monteverdi
Okay.
where the clarinet runs are really intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I get tight right before that, and that pulls my timing off because my breathing is off.
Yep.
But my way to relax myself when I pause,
Mm-hmm.
it shifts my breathing. And I'm
Yes.
trying to figure out how to shift breathing at the same time as not lose track of breathing, because when you breathe, it's very specific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any
Great.
tips?
Yep. So a couple of different ways of doing this. One is to pause where it doesn't mess up your timing as much. So maybe a little earlier on at a different place. You kind of like think of the chunk of your critical moment as not necessarily starting right on those notes, if that's weird for your breathing, but starting a little bit earlier. And so you're thinking about that phrase a little bit earlier and letting your nervous system calm down a little bit earlier on. Sometimes that can help. And the pause is also mostly useful in the practice room. So what you can do is practice it in various ways. You're playing those notes just before the run, and then you just play the first note of the run, and then pause. Sometimes pausing afterwards helps. Just having that intention of pausing afterwards, it makes you less tense during the thing. So you can just experiment with putting the pauses in various places where it's not going to mess up your breathing, and also experiment with doing not doing the whole run, because that might be like too big of a stimulus right off the bat. And so then you experiment with doing more and more of the run after the pause or something like that.
That makes
and one more,
sense.
sorry?
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. One more idea is what I call the micro pause, which is a pause so short only you know that it's there. So it's not as effective as taking a longer pause, but it helps and it works up on stage when your timing really matters. All right, so Belinda, did I see your hand is up? Yeah, go for it.
I love the micropause thing. All right, so in your first thing that you did,
yes,
you've like this, and then I noticed that when I put my arms above my head, look what happened to my neck.
Okay.
That doesn't need to happen, does it?
No.
I don't need to go back like that.
No.
No. So that helped me. And yeah, okay, so yeah. And the other thing, which I know for a long time, which I'm still working on, so is that, I don't know if you can see this here, let's see. I tend to bring my arm way too far this way, which doesn't need to happen.
Okay.
But it's like one of my habits.
Yeah.
Even though I've been working on it. But the big thing that you showed me is I put my arms above my head. I don't have to put my head up.
Right.
I don't have to, I can, right? You got anything to say about all that?
Yeah, well, your body's a web, so there will be some effect of moving your arms in your head and in your toes everywhere, right? But you don't need to like, crane your neck back. Certainly, that's
exactly.
That's going
That's
to.
what I noticed that I did.
Yeah, so that's your habit.
Exactly, it's a habit.
Yeah, and as far as with your elbow underneath, what you don't want to do is get into a fixed idea about where your elbow needs to be.
Right.
Any kind of technique, if it's making you more tense, stop doing it or rethink it.
Right.
Because the purpose of technique is to make it easier for you to play.
Right. And you also mentioned the quality of the movement.
That's right.
That's on a really good quality, but this is more.
Exactly. Right. And I've seen Itzhak Perlman play, and he's got the violin right down in here, right? And that's like big no-no, pancake hands, bad, right? So technique, and any idea of technique that's like fixed like that is good for beginners, but once you get past a certain point, it becomes a limitation because it becomes the death grip. It becomes this rigid, fixed idea that causes yet more tension. And so you have to think, like, what's the actual underlying purpose of this technique? And can I get there in a way that's freer? Okay. Rethinking your techniques. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So we have about 15 minutes and we're going to do a little wrap up in just a second. So yeah, I'd like to do this. I'm going to work with one person, one-on-one here. If you want to help, we'll just do this like for a couple minutes. If you want my help with a specific passage and when you're playing something. All right, Jamie's already got your hand up. Great. So I guess we'll go with Jamie.
Okay. I'm going to play 4 measures, 2 notes leading up, and then.
Okay.
So.
Great.
So it's a little better with the slide instead of clipping, and then what do I do now?
Yes. Okay, great. So, rate your tension overall, scale of 0 to 10.
I'd say 4.5.
4.5. Great, thank you. And where's your when is your critical moment?
After I hit this note.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the shift down?
Yeah, and just from what we've been doing, that's gotten better.
Okay, good. I'm glad. So the shift down. I mean, I just made a whole webinar on this called the shoulder rest trap. So it's actually a free webinar you can find on my website down at the very bottom. But the basic idea is that you want to hold your instrument like like a web rather than like a diving board. You know, a lot of violinists and violists kind of instinctually, or like I was taught to clamp here ostensibly to make the left hand free. Except your body's a web, so when your neck gets tense, then your hands get tense, right? And so my recommendation is to hold the violin or viola so lightly that it could just about fall out of your hands. Now, that's a really different way of holding the instrument for most people, and because we're so used to clamping here, so you have to rethink some aspects of technique. If you are to actually be able to play with that much ease, then there are a couple of times when you actually do need to hold on a little bit. And in this shifting down is one of them because if you're holding your instrument with that much ease and you shift down, the friction of your hand is going to make your violin drop or your viola, right? And so you do hold on a little bit and only just enough to keep it from dropping and then let go immediately. So it's a dynamic hold instead of being set and forget. So what we're going to do is we want you to play up to there, and then you're going to find your top note and then pause, and then shift with a dynamic hold here, and then you let go. Pause, 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 pause after that high note. Pause, 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 pause. Okay, what do you notice that time?
That was a little better. Yeah.
Okay, and when you did that downshift, what happened here?
I was trying to let it down a little bit.
Okay, and when you gripped more, were you able to let go afterwards?
I was trying to, yes.
Well,
Yes. I'm
trying
just so
to,
used to clamping down on that note, so I'm
yeah,
trying
okay,
to do it a
okay,
little more.
yes, I understand. So how about you pause before you hit that high note?
Okay.
Okay, what do you notice this time?
That was better.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like a couple confounding things happening. So you're getting tense right before the shift, and that's making you grip even more, putting more friction on the instrument. And then when you're shifting down, you have all this friction in your hand that leads you to clamp even more here as you're shifting, you know. Right? So the root cause solution, pause before you do the shift and you're practicing. And if you keep practicing with that pause,
Hmm.
eventually that shift is just going to happen naturally with ease. You won't even need to pause so much. Okay? All right, so now rate your tension that last time.
2.5.
Amazing. Great. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start wrapping things up here. So we'll still have a couple minutes. Um, so yeah, I want to hear some takeaways from anybody. Will do like a one-word takeaway, and then we're going to do the raffle, and I'll share a little bit more about some of my other programs. And then I'm also happy to stay on after the 15-minute mark of the hour here at a little after party. Happy to answer any questions. We can hang out a little bit, get to know each other. So, but first, I want to hear like a one-word takeaway. You can just uh, unmute yourself. What's your big takeaway or one phrase? Um, go for it.
I'm going to go with your keyword, pause. And that's
Pause.
so simple. Just pause.
Pause. Great. Thank you, Kim.
Notice.
Notice. Great.
Trust.
Trust.
Light in terms of holding the violin lightly.
Lightly. Great. Thank you.
Awareness.
Awareness.
Allowing the awareness.
Allowing the awareness.
Everything is interactive.
Yeah, interactive. Great, thank you. Pause and breathe, Rachel says in the chat here. Any other takeaways? All right. Good. So this class, the Musician Attention Reset Lab, it's free, happens every month, third Saturday. And if you want to get on that list, you can go to soulforcearts.com/tension reset. I'll put the link here as well. And you're welcome to come as many times as you like. So there's no limit on that. And some of you, I'm sure, have come from Chris Howe's. So this class is now part of his offerings, which I'm very grateful for. And okay, so before we do the raffle, I'll say just a couple more words about other ways you can continue into this. So I have a bunch of offerings. I got my book. You can get that on my website. I have a Try Harder Trap webinar where I go into other effortlessness techniques. That's only $27, 45 minutes. Show you how to apply that to practicing as well. And there's one person who took it recently. Can't remember exactly what they said, but got a big release after watching that. And I also teach one-on-one online. My Perform Without Pain program. You can check that out on my website as well. And hopefully I'll be starting a group program to do this as well. It's 8 weeks. And the idea is that we'd go deep into about 20 of these effortlessness techniques that I teach. And by the end of it, you'd experience a lifetime change of 80 to 90% less tension and pain. And it's a lifetime change because you're changing your habits, right? You're not going to get tense like that anymore. So that's on offer if you're interested in going deeper. What else? I have other online courses. You can just explore my website. It's all on there. Or send me an email. We'll set up a time to talk. I'm very happy to do that. Just get to know you. Okay, I think that's it. So now we're going to do the raffle for my book, free copy of my book. So what we're going to do, put in the chat a number between 1 and 100, and I'm going to have that number in my mind, and whoever gets closest gets the book. And also, if you want me to put you on my email list, you can also just drop your email address in the chat, and I'll do that for you. All right, poll closing in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Get your numbers in. Uh-oh, Andrea, it was between 1 and 100. Why don't you choose another number? Not 150. Okay, great. Oh my goodness. I think Andrea just won it anyway. My number was 88. Andrea guessed it's 87. Let's see if there was anything else. Does anybody guess 88? No. Okay. All right. So Andrea, why don't you put your email address in the chat here, and I will reach out to you right after the call. You can send me your address, and I'll ship off that book. Okay. So I think that's it. Thank you all so much. This has been a real pleasure. Going to be here. We check the date. 3rd Saturday of September, which is the 19th of September. Same time, same place. And now this is sort of open Q&A. If you have had enough, thank you so much for joining. Tell Chris what you think. Tell your friends and family. Or tell me. I'd love to hear from you. So now we can just hang out for a little bit in the after party. So anybody wants to get your questions answered, now's the time. All right, Jeanette.
Where is your book available?
Soulforcearts.com/book.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's
And
also on
thank you.
Amazon. It's also
Thank
on
you so
Amazon.
much. This
Yeah,
was very helpful, and I love the awareness and the pausing. It's really great. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Jeanette. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Tyson.
I think, especially for violinists and violists, the moments of tension predictably are like shifts in or fast moments, and
totally.
watching you work with I think it was Jamie, it was nice to think about how that is sort of instituted. Question for you, since you play, I play in a hot club out here in Portland, Oregon, and
awesome.
so a lot of the tension comes from attempting things I want to do that involve shifting. And so you can practice shifts within a concerto because you know where they're coming.
Yeah.
How do you navigate the pauses and the anticipatory tension that's involved with shifts that you don't know when they're coming because it's part of your improvisation?
Yeah. Well, you do know when they're coming just a fraction of a second before.
True.
And so you need to treat that as your critical moment. Like, oh, I'm about to do something that involves a shift. It'll be just this intuition that arises a split second before you start.
Sure. So in the practice room, you can sort of set it up right where it's like, I'm going to work on not this specific shift, but just the feeling of anticipating a shift, right? And then workshop it through different kinds of shifts, let's say.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can improv doing different shifts at home and just do it really slowly. So you play a couple notes, pause, and then you move, play a couple notes, pause. And that teaches your nervous system to relax around the idea of shifting.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me know what happens.
Yeah.
All right, Kim.
This was great. Thank you very much. Two things. One, I was wondering, how much can you tell when somebody else has tension? Like, can you perceive it? And
it's something that haunts me every day.
Like if we're like online and I were playing, could you tell how much tension I have? Or do I have to, as always, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell a good deal. It's a dialogue that happens, but oftentimes, even through a screen, if I find myself getting tight when watching somebody else, then I know that person's getting tight. Of course, you can also see like when that neck gets tight or whatever, when the person stops moving, when their eyes harden, right? These are all kind of telltale signals.
Great. And then when you mentioned holding the violin lighter, so I tried doing that, and it's like, wow, right away I could tell there was less tension there. But how do I, back to the issue of like this setup with the shoulder rest, and maybe this will be answered on your website, how do I get the right setup to make sure that I'm not increasing my tension through my setup with like the shoulder rest and the chin rest?
Yeah, well, that's my whole webinar.
Okay.
I think I put the link in the chat. I can do it again. But do you have like a more specific question?
No, just about like how to pick a shoulder rest to make sure you're not encouraging the tension that they used to have with the old kind of hold.
Exactly. All right. So
without dropping the violin.
Without dropping the violin. I know. So many things to think about. All right. So one thing is that you want the way you have your instrument up and down to look the same. And because you wouldn't go around life like this, like you are with your violin or viola or whatever, because that's very uncomfortable, right? So why are you doing that with your instrument? So what people often do, they have this habit, they're so used to it, they're so used to holding all this tension that they try to fit their shoulder rest here, thinking that the shoulder rest is the problem, when really it's all the tension. And it doesn't matter what shoulder rest you get, if you're still holding all that tension, you're still going to be uncomfortable, right? And moreover, even if you got the right shoulder rest or the right setup, it's not going to fit you in the same way when you're tense versus free. And so what you need to do is fit it to yourself in a free state. And for a lot of people, that means having a taller setup, chin rest, shoulders rest, whatever it is. Another thing is making sure your shoulder pad is really grippy. You want it to grip your shirt so it doesn't slide. This is one of the primary causes of tightening up around the instrument. You feel it sliding down. Not good. So I'm actually experimenting with magnets. I'm going to try some magnets. There's actually somebody out there who makes this sort of magnet setup where you put it under your shirt and you put the other thing on your shoulder rest. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that. So you can experiment with different kinds of setups, but maybe you don't need that. Maybe you just need a grippier pad. So you can go to the hardware store and get some neoprene or even just makeup pads. You know, the makeup remover pads. Just rubber band a couple of those onto your shoulder rest. Oh yeah, look at that. So yeah, you got some foam there.
Yeah, memory foam is nice and sticky.
Yeah, good stuff. It's a good idea. And so that'll help grip and then keep your instrument up while you're playing, and so you don't have to grip it, with your neck. Another thing is um, all points of contact on the instrument help keep the instrument up. No longer just your chin and your shoulder. Your bow, your fingers, each individual finger, the place where you touch here, or your thumb, your chin, your shoulder, all these are like a web, and they should all be able to move at any moment. Somebody should just be able to come up and pluck your instrument out of your hands. All right, but that takes a dynamic way of holding your instrument rather than static. It's a rebalancing and rebalancing and rebalancing. All right, it's a little bit more to think about, but that's the price of freedom. Okay, Verlene?
Couple things. One, I wanted to comment on the shoulder rest slipping. I took a long time trying to figure out, I've got a really tall on this side, and then for a little while I put a rubber band around this part of my shoulder rest, and the rubber band helped to keep it there. But
Yeah,
after a
good.
while, it changed how I was holding it, and I was able to take the rubber band off. Actually, the rubber band broke, and I never replaced it. And then
Okay.
and now it's comfortable. It doesn't move around. So that was one of the things I wanted to comment on. But before that, just in general, I'm going to be teaching tomorrow to my harp ensemble, whole body harping, which includes a lot of Feldenkrais, which I've done a
Okay.
little bit of.
Sure.
And so a lot of this kind of falls into that same
Yeah, definitely.
awareness, body awareness. And when people play the harp, they tend to lean the harp back, and then they've got tension in the shoulder, and then they pluck the strings, and
Yes,
so
yes.
the whole thing of just being able to be the way you are, like what you're saying with the violin, you should look the same. So you lean the harp back, you shouldn't all of a sudden have to twist to see the strings,
Yeah.
so all of that really falls right in line with the
Yes.
harp. But real big aha for me with playing the fiddle was that stopping just before. And I mean, that was such a big breakthrough because I was doing a jig, and I know that every time I do the cross string, my arm starts to ache right in here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, I wonder if I can fix that. And
Yeah.
that's where I went from 5 down to 3.
Right.
I stopped and I went, oh, I feel it before I even cross the string. And
Yes.
now I'm just going to drop the bow. And it was amazing. So that I'm going to be, if you don't mind, I'm going to be quoting you and giving your website tomorrow and talking about your magic pause, and of course give you credit.
Beautiful.
But it will
Beautiful.
work
Yeah.
right in. So thank you so
Perfect.
much. This has been amazing.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad it inspired you. That's great. Um, Great. Anybody else? Musings, mortal fears, random thoughts? Yes, Belinda?
Okay, just two things.
Mm-hmm.
There, a lot of people talked about the shoulder rest and everything like that. So I'm doing Baroque violin now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but maybe you should just try lifting your chin, especially when you do a down bow.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get into this position, we need to have this kind of stuff. And the second thing is, for me personally, I'm still working on this because I do know that when I do a down bow, I do that.
Mm-hmm.
But what sometimes I do in a passage when I'm learning some music,
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the opposite because Because on the up bow, I don't do that. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
reverse the bowing and see how that feels, and then try and the down bow. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, have you ever just tried stopping doing down bows?
Just doing all up bows?
I'm
I
teasing.
reverse the bowing. You mean just do all up bows?
Just like the old joke of the doctor saying, "Hey, doctor, it hurts when I do this." And the doctor says, "Well,
Right.
stop doing that."
Okay. So
Okay.
another thing I learned from an Alexander teacher was when you go down bow, okay, so I'm going down, but think up, 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 down, down, down. That actually helped me.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
That helped one time too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a useful movement idea because we tend to get hyper focused on what we think is the focal point, and then everything follows that, right? But that's no good. So if you think if you're doing something down and you can think about the space around you or think up or something like that, that can help balance it out.
Yeah. It shows my habits.
Yeah, absolutely. Good noticing. All right. I think Jan, I think you
Yes.
have something to
Can you
say?
talk me please slowly what's website when you have that
Website. I'll put it in the chat right here.
Oh, okay. And second,
Soulforcearts.com.
you mentioned that you have health problems with when you play 10 hours and like that. I have carpal tunnel surgery in February.
Wow.
And how did you what did you did? How did you treat or you have some medical?
Yeah, well, it was the Alexander technique.
What kind?
That's what did it. The Alexander technique. It's what I teach.
Alexander technique. Okay.
Yeah, I teach what helped me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and if you want, we can talk more about how to recover from that surgery. So just reach out if you'd like. Okay. The book is available as an ebook on Amazon. All right, Jamie.
Quick question. I couldn't play without pain until I went as low as you can go on both. If I want to go up, should I use the chin rest or the shoulder rest to go up?
Experiment.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right. Good. Anything else? I think somebody just came in. Doria, we're now at the end of the class. Yeah, any other thoughts, musings, questions, eternal insights?
I have a question.
Yes, go for it.
Hi. So I play a lot of bluegrass music, and I do a lot of like freestyle improvisation. And I find that when I go to play really fast passages, sometimes I get it like when I press down with my right hand, I get tension in my left hand. Do you have any recommendations about how to practice playing faster, but also with less tension with the left?
Yeah, you could do this in a number of ways. So one is just to imagine playing fast and notice what happens in your body. Just imagine it right now. What do you notice?
Oh, I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
Right? So just the thought by itself is making you tense. Right? And this makes sense because sometimes doing difficult things, even if it's not actually a threat, it gets perceived as a threat by your nervous system. Like, too much all at once. Right? If I mess up, nobody will love me. These kinds of things, right? That's a threat for your nervous system. And so it makes sense that you would be getting tight around that. So what you do then, like step number one could be just imagine playing fast, and then you just pause after you imagine that. And you might notice that the thought kind of fades, and your body releases a little bit. What do you notice when you do that?
Yeah, I definitely notice like it's a feeling instead of like going up, like coming down into it more.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you could just practice that just throughout your day, a couple times a day. You think, okay, I'm gonna play fast. Pause. Oh yeah, wait, I have choices about how to do that. Right, and then when you come to your instrument, same thing. You play the couple notes right before the fast passage. Pause before you play the first note of the fast part. And then you play the fast part, right? And there might be multiple critical moments in that fast part. So you find those. And those are all the moments when you get tighter than you'd like. And then you put pauses before all of those, right? And if you do that, it's going to feel a lot easier. And you just keep practicing that way. Even though you're not going to perform it with all those pauses, You practice it with the pause so that your nervous system goes, oh, wait a second, playing fast is not. Okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Well, I guess that's it for today then. Thank you all so much. It's been a real pleasure. And I will send out the recording on my email newsletter. So again, if you want to sign up for that, you can put your email address in the chat. And look forward to seeing you next time, if not before.